Welcome to Unity. I'm Reverend Marla Mason, and I am thrilled to welcome you into our virtual space this morning. Unity of Bellevue is about waking up. We are about going deeper and deeper with knowing the truth of who and whose we are and how we are called to express in the world. This month, the month of May, we are using as our theme for this spiritual journey the idea of waking up, living life full out from inside, because most of us are still under stay at home, yes? And so how do we live our lives full out from within, knowing our divinity and what it is calling us to be, and how do we live from that place with commitment and verve and a sense that this is just right for me. So that's what we're about this month. Our book of the month is The Great Work of Your Life by Stephen Cope. It's a dandy. You might want to pick up a copy of that, and Monica can tell you how. If you're interested in lit up living, living from the light, this is a really great read for you. So here we are. I think it's our 9th Sunday online, and I think we're starting to get this down, you guys. It's going really smoothly. So I'm super happy about that. I want to welcome this morning our guest artists, our members of our extended family, Becky Thatcher and Matt Corey. They have blessed us for so many years with their lovely music and with their beautiful spirits, and I feel very, very grateful to welcome them into kind of the love vibe that is online Unity. So Becky and Matt, I know you have a song for us. Why don't you share?
Yes, this is a little reminder to keep everything in perspective. So, you know, okay. I'm not worried about tomorrow. Today I declare freedom from yesterday and mistakes of the past. Today all things are made brand new. And don't it feel good to know that all is well and unfolding as it should? I can change my reality by changing my mind. Perfect peace, joy, and happiness are yours and are mine. I am love and so are you. And don't it feel good to know that all is well and unfolding as it should? Let me hear you say it. All is well. All is well. Divine Spirit is directing me right now, right now. All is well. All is well. All is well and unfolding as it should. I am cloaked in the Spirit. I am fed by the divine. I am one with all that is. My soul is free from time. I am blessed and so are you. And don't it feel good to know that all is well? Oh, it feels good. All is well. Just to know that all is well. Yeah, yeah. All my soul is free from time. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All is well. All is well and unfolding as it should.
And so we turn within and we recognize the spiritual truth. All is well. Regardless of appearance, we center in the knowingness that there is only one life, one power, one presence, one beingness, and it is that life that has given birth to all things. It is that life from which all things spring, to which all things return. There is only this power and this presence, and we are swimming in it. We have our being in it, and so all is well. And we surrender to this greater understanding, knowing that we are not at the effect of any condition. And we allow ourselves to anchor in truth. Simply saying yes to our power of response, saying yes, to our power to be present to exactly what is in the consciousness of the higher good. And so it's in this consciousness that I declare a blessing on this time together today. I know we are called together by divine appointment to deepen, to grow, to open our hearts more fully to the truth, and to know that we can live from that truth. And so it's with a grateful heart that I say yes to all that is about to unfold and know that we are blessed. And I call it good, and so it is. Amen. Terrific. Let's have a little affirmation. I'm going to just give you a moment as Monica brings the affirmation up. I'm going to give you a moment to just silently read this and begin to take in these words. And so it is. And now I'm going to declare these words of truth with conviction, and I invite you to join me from wherever you are, knowing that there's one voice in the mind and the body of God. So please join me. I live the great work of my life with passion and purpose, confident that my deepest calling is sustaining and nurturing me now. I live life full out, and so it is.
See the moon roll across the stars. See the seasons turn like a heart. Your father's days are lost to you. This is your time here to do what you will do. Your life is now, your life is now, your life is now. In this undiscovered moment, lift your head up above the crowd. We could shake this world if you would only show us how. Your life is now. Would you teach your children to tell the truth? Would you take the high road if you could choose? Do you believe you're a victim of a great compromise? Well, I believe you could change your mind and change our lives. Your life is now, your life is now, your life is now. In this undiscovered moment, lift your head up above the crowds. We could shake this world if you would only show us how. Your life is now. Would you teach your children to tell the truth? This is your time here to do what you will do. Your life is now, your life is now, your life is now. In this undiscovered moment, lift your head up above the crowd. We could shake this world if you would only show us how. Your life is now, your life is now, your life is now, your life is now.
Thanks, you guys. And let's all open our hearts right now to that message, to those words of truth. Your life is right now. And you know, I've been thinking real hard lately about my life, both because of our theme this month, but also because of the conditions in which our theme is unfolding. We are surrounded by death and loss right now. People that I know are grieving deeply losses from COVID-19 and other losses as well. And it has me reflecting as I'm reading this book, The Great Work of Your Life. It has me reflecting. I've been given a life. I've been given a life. Not only have I been given a life, I've been given endless resources. I've been given a human body. I've been given a mind to think with and a heart to love with, and I've been given emotions to feel with. I've been given resources in the planet around me to work with, people who love me, people who don't even know me, but if they knew me, they would love me, I'm sure. I've been given resources to live this life with and from. I've been given a universe in which to allow this life to unfold. What an amazing gift. And what will I create with this life and from these resources? What will I do with this gift, with all of these gifts that have been given to me? And that's been the question that has been on my heart the last couple of weeks. And I've been reminded of my sewing room where I have shelves and drawers of fabric, and I have straight pins, and I have fabric weights, and I have scissors, and I have patterns, and I have all kinds of things that I can create from. What will I create? Oh, it's a dress today, it's an apron tomorrow, it's a mask the day after that. What will I create from all of these resources? I'm thinking of an artist with a canvas and paints and brushes and a recognition that they have been given some gifts and put on the planet for a purpose. What will this person create? I have to tell you, you know, this maintenance cooking thing is not mine to do, and I'm getting really tired of opening the refrigerator and looking in there and what is mine to create today. Whew. And yet, I'm so grateful for the endless and bountiful resources I've been given. What will I create with this one life I've been given? Because the fact is, as I grieve some losses around me, I realize more deeply than I have perhaps ever that we've got one shot. I've got one shot with this life. I've been here 61 years. I don't know how many more I have. Will I make it a masterpiece? Will I make this life a great work, truly a masterpiece? And given all my resources, everything that I've been given from which to create, there is no reason in the world that it cannot be a masterpiece. So I'm inviting you to open your heart to this life that you've been given and what you're called to create, given all of the amazing resources that have been provided to you from which you can create anything. So there's a way, and we started talking about this way last week. We started talking about Dharma. Do you remember that? What is Dharma? Dharma is our path, our vocation, sacred duty, right conduct, divine plan, perfect expression. Dharma has many, many meanings, but it really means purpose at its most core level. What is my purpose? Why am I here? And it is what makes me unique. It is what makes me uniquely me. I am here for a purpose to do something very, very well. And we talked last week about how do we begin to discern our Dharma? How do we begin to know what is ours to do? Whether we are a kid or whether we are a senior, there is something for us to be doing here. And how do we connect with what that is? And we talked about having to pay attention to life, be willing to look, to identify what are our gifts, what are the gifts we've been given, what are the resources we've been given to support the expression of those gifts in the world. We talked about paying attention to things like synchronicity and balance and releasing and letting go in a way that is just kind of lighthearted and fun. So our Dharma is that thing, that gift, that purpose, that thing that makes us uniquely us. And it's already been provided to us. We simply have to open our eyes to it. We simply have to be willing to begin to know what that is and to live from that very high, holy, and sacred place. So what's your Dharma? Feel free to share if you wish. If you've gotten more in touch with that over the last week since our conversation last week, or perhaps you already know and you're living from your Dharma right now, feel free to chat, and I'll do my best to share chats as we move through. What is your Dharma? And are you living from that place right now, or are you in the process of getting there? So last week, what we talked about was kind of the discernment phase of Dharma, finding our unique purpose. Now, today I want to talk about the idea of focus, the idea of as we begin to get a sense of what is ours to be and do and express here on planet Earth, how do we begin to focus in on that and live from that place in the world? And I want to read to you from our book of the month on page 71, if you've got it handy there. Stephen Cope is talking about the three principles that we embody in order to live from our Dharma. And he says the first principle is we find out who we are and we do it on purpose. Sounds so simple, doesn't it? Just find out who you are and then do it on purpose. And it really is that simple. Number two is unify. And that's what we're going to focus on today. And number three is practice deliberately. Practice deliberately with commitment and focus and conviction. And so what I want to talk about for a few moments here, and I'm reading from page 69 in the book, this concept of unify. See, last week we were about discernment and what is mine to do. This week we are about that step two, that second principle. We unify with this purpose. And you know what, if you're saying, oh, I can't do that, I don't know my purpose yet, that's okay, just do it anyway. And I'm going to talk about that here in a second. Unify on page 61. Remember, you might remember from last week, we're talking about the conversation that Krishna and Arjuna are having as Arjuna is looking out over the war, if you will, but really his life and choosing his path, getting clear about what is his Dharma, his duty, his purpose, his thing to be and do in the world. And at one point, they're sitting in they're chatting in the carriage, and Krishna says, considering your Dharma, you should not vacillate. Put on your seatbelt for a second. The vacillating mind is the split mind. The vacillating mind is the doubting mind, the mind at war with itself. The ignorant, indecisive, and lacking in faith waste their lives, says Krishna. They can never be happy in this world or in any other. And then the author that's quoting Stephen Cope says, ouch. Because it is a bit of an ouch, isn't it? The vacillating mind is the doubting mind, the mind at war with itself. The ignorant, indecisive, and lacking in faith waste their lives. They can never be happy in this world or in any other. It sounds harsh, doesn't it? And yet, when we're over here and then we're over there and then we're over here, Are we really making the best use of the one life we've been given? And that's really the key question that we have for today. We find our Dharma, and even if we don't know, we look to our Dharma. Remember, that was the title last week was look to it. We begin to look. We open our eyes. And remember, we said, look, we can do it. Look, there it is. All we have to do is turn our attention to the thing. So we look to our Dharma and allow it to lead us to the next thing instead of, oh, now I'm going to look over here. See, do you see how now I'm going to look over here? Now I'm going to look over here. Now I'm going to, is me trying to push myself to look somewhere. But if I just focus as best I can with what I know right now on my Dharma, it begins to pull me toward it. He goes on to say further down this page, how do you get from where most of us live, the run-of-the-mill split mind, to the gathered, focused mind? Krishna articulates this principle succinctly. Acting in unity with your purpose itself creates unification. Actions that consciously support Dharma have the power to begin to gather our energy. These outward actions, step by step, shape us inwardly. Find your Dharma and do it. And in the process of doing it, the energy gathers itself into a laser beam of effectiveness. You see, we look to our Dharma and then we simply engage with it. He says later in the book, everything in our lives must be in line with our Dharma, must be, he talks about the spine of our Dharma. We must align everything in our lives up with the spine of our Dharma. And for me, like how I hear that, we must want God more than anything. We must want understanding. And when I say God, I don't mean, a guy in the sky. I mean the God of wisdom, the God of love, the God of understanding. We must want love and wisdom and understanding more than we want anything else. And when we seek first that kingdom, what happens? You hear me say this all the time because I'm quoting the master teacher, right? When we seek first that kingdom, everything else is added unto us. And so we enter into this consciousness of unification. We look to our Dharma, we begin to allow it to pull us toward it by entering this process of unification, which is really simply just acting in unity with our purpose. And it's so interesting to me because in our teaching, unification is a step in our prayer, isn't it? We lift ourselves into the consciousness of oneness and unity, and then we unify with that consciousness. And that's part of our prayer practice because we understand that there's only one life, one consciousness, one mind. And when I'm praying from that awareness of unification, when I'm praying from that awareness of oneness, I am putting on the mind of God. I am borrowing the mind of God. And from that place, my prayer is so much more powerful. You see, then what happens is God can begin to work through us. I had a teacher once that I think he was quoting Teresa of Avila. He used to talk about God with hands and feet. He would say, well, I know we keep hoping that God will do this or that or the other thing, but we are God with hands and feet. We're the ones who have to do this, that, or the other thing and express the divine activity of our souls from our unique purpose, from our Dharma, such that a great and mighty good unfolds in the world. What's your Dharma? Are you just looking to it right now? And it could change. He talks in the book about our Dharma changes in different phases and periods of our lives. No matter where you are in your life, there is something to be expressed as you, for you are at one with the infinite mind, and all it does is create. All it does is express. And so as we unify our being, that is our human being, but also our way of being in the world, as we unify our being with that consciousness and put our focus on our purpose, then divine right action just unfolds. We know what to do. There's no question. We know what to do. So this notion, I'm going to actually, let me check chat for a second and see where we're at. Lynn says, my Dharma is to be a healing presence in the world. That's lovely, Lynn. Thank you. And you've been given so many great resources. When I look at you, Lynn, and I know something about your gifts, the gifts that you bring to the world are gifts of healing and presence and calm. Anybody noticed how calm Lynn is? Sometimes I really need that. And if you don't know Lynn yet, she is a healing presence for sure. Vic Bishop, he's registered to be a candidate for state rep. Ha, a direct result of these lessons. That's terrific, Vic. Finding our unique purpose, being something deep inside, and then living from that place. What is the truth? You know what, Nancy, I'm going to come back to your comment. Mandy says, I want to sing and write. When I engage in the activities, my inner judge gets in the way, keeps me from living from my joy. Right? Anybody else have this little problem that when we start to embody our unique purpose, the little voices go off in our heads that say, oh, not good enough, doesn't measure up, or you can't do that. That's not sensible. Anybody? The fact is, as we align with the spine, right? One of the examples Stephen Cope uses in the book is he talks about, because he's a writer, right? And he talks about how a book has a spine and it holds all the pages and the pages hold all the content and everything lines up with the spine. And we can have the experience of the book because of the spine. If there was no spine, the pages would be all over the place, right? So when we when we align all of our activity with the spine of our Dharma, with the spine of our Dharma, we're able to put our focus and our attention on the right next step. That's how I know which page is next. There's a spine. Oh, page 69. Oh, page 70. Wow, that could have been any page in the world if I was just randomly picking up pages from the table. And so the spine allows me to keep things in order and focus. And part of the focus is putting our attention on the right thing. And now I'm talking about your thing, Mandy. It's like, you know, where do I want to put my attention? On what I am called here to create, or on the little judgments in my head about how I go about that? We have to use our attention to put our focus to unify with the grand idea of our Dharma and set everything else aside. Let me check in one more time. I like the idea of borrowing the mind of God, Connie says. Hey, Connie, you know what? That's from the book of Philippians. Just so you know, it's right there in the Bible. All right. I think it was Paul wrote in the letter to the Philippians, let this mind be in you that was in Christ Jesus, who thought it not robbery to borrow the mind of God. It's right there. So go look it up. I might not have the exact quote, but that's very, very close. Amy Anna says, I feel my Dharma is to bring peace, kindness, and love as much as I can. Peace, kindness, and love as much as I can. And here's what I love about this. When Amy Anna and actually Lynn and some of you, Mandy, when you've been sharing about, you know, my Dharma, my unique purpose, my reason for being here, I don't see anybody saying, you know, my reason for being here is to be a teacher. My reason for being here is to be a corporate CEO. My reason for being here is to, you know, be an HR generalist. No, that's not what people are referring to. They're talking about what is their beingness. What is it I am called to be? And that might show up as a corporate CEO or an attorney or a teacher or whatever. But the expression of the beingness is what is really critical. And then we can, you know, I mean, I've moved from, you know, corporate thing to this thing to that thing, graphic art, blah, 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 over the years. But the thing that my life has always been about has been creativity and expression. That's the common theme for me. All right, beautiful. So here's the thing. When we begin to move into this unification phase of really following our Dharma, We often have to make choices. Yes. As we become more and more engaged with who we deeply and truly are, sometimes we have to choose. I know that I knew for a long time that ministry was for me. It's a really long story, but it wasn't until about 1998 that it got very clear to me that I was denying a piece of me, a part of my Dharma, and that I needed to say yes to that. And I began to enter the prerequisites for my ministerial training. And you know what? All my life, from the cherub choir when I was 3 years old at Hoquiam First Christian Church, until I started my prerequisites for ministerial school, I always sang in choir. I always sang in choir. It was such a big part of my life. And you know what? I wish you could see. My mom has a picture of me in the cherub choir, like this. All of us, there's like 8 of us, and we're all going. And we have on these white angel robes with these big red bows right here. And it's adorable. But you know, I look back and like this 3-year-old me knew that singing was a piece of my life that was so deeply important. And all through, I always sang in church choir, and I always sang in school choir. And then when I went to college, and when I left school altogether, I sang with Seattle Pro Musica, and I sang with Seattle Choral Company. I always had this music piece of me that was always in expression. And when I started ministerial school, I had to choose, because it's a big commitment to participate at that level in having a musical life. And in order for, and ministry is a big commitment. And in order for me to do the thing that is really the true and deep call for me, I had to choose. And I had to leave that formal kind of practice of engaging in choir behind. Now, that doesn't mean I don't sing sometimes and kind of have some fun and make some noise with my voice, but I don't undertake that as a serious activity in my life anymore, because my Dharma was calling me in a different direction. And you know, I find some comfort in the idea that, you know, the new physics tells us there's many dimensions of consciousness, and I do find some comfort in the thought. I don't even know if this is real, but sometimes I think, well, you know what? There's a dimension in consciousness in which it happened to the music path. You know what I mean? Like somewhere there is a Marla that is a totally committed full-time musician and loving it and fulfilling that part of her. And that's enough for me, because I know that I am here for a specific purpose, and that purpose has to do with lifting and inspiring and growing. And for a while that was maybe going to be through music, but you know what? It's through this thing called ministry, and I had to choose. And sometimes we have to choose when we decide that we are going to go more deeply into the truth of who we are. You know, when I came out in 1993, I was making a choice, not about being gay, but I knew that I would sacrifice some relationships if I did that. And it was a tough choice, but I had to follow the truth of who I am. It was more important to be real, to be honest with myself, to be authentic, to follow my true purpose, than it was to hang on to some relationships. And it was a painful choice, but life calls us sometimes to make painful choices. And, you know, we got to be grown up. We got to be grown, you guys, and make those painful choices. Which is why it is so important to unify, to recognize our oneness with the infinite, because, you know, in the midst of that pain, I need support. In the midst of that human experience of separation and division and pain, I need to know that something greater than I am is inspiring me, is lifting me, is moving me through this experience of life. And that there's a purpose, a greater purpose to be known and to be lived from. So sometimes focusing, engaging with our true Dharma, we have to make choices. And we definitely, and this is getting back to what Mandy was talking about, we definitely have to release our doubt. Do you remember last week we talked about doubt? We talked about Arjuna, paralyzed, laying on the floor of the carriage, like, I can't choose, I can't go there, I can't go here. And we talked about the notion that even laying on the floor of the carriage paralyzed is action. That is doing something. So we may as well do something productive. We may as well choose to do something that leads to greater freedom, that leads to greater fulfillment, something that connects us to the greater truth of who we are. And so when those voices of doubt come to Mandy's mind, when those voices of doubt come to your mind, can we connect to the greater idea of freedom? Get up off that floor of the carriage and recognize even laying on the floor of the carriage is doing something. Even giving voice to our judgments and our doubts is doing something. Let's choose a more life-affirming activity like love, joy, peace, self-affirmation, anchoring in the truth. If this wasn't mine to do, I wouldn't be called to it. So it must be mine to do. So we release doubt. We move from scattered and doubtful to focused and sure, positive, convicted. And then we act in unity even more with our purpose. In fact, he says here on page 69, he says, don't waste time calculating your chances of success and failure. Just fix your aim and begin. Just fix your aim and begin. And he says later, I'm not sure exactly where, it's better to fail at your own dharma than to succeed at someone else's. Have you ever felt like you're living somebody else's life? I know I have. Wow, this is not mine to do. What am I doing here? How did this happen? Well, it happened through a series of choices I made. And now I can set aside my doubt and I can make the life-affirming choice. I can act from my awareness of my dharma. I can fix my aim and begin, and all else is added unto us. Suddenly, life starts to make sense. And here's the thing, he talks about Susan B. Anthony quite a bit in the book. And one of the things that she said, I wonder if let me see if I can find that note I made. She said, in order to be effective, the important thing is to forget self. And she's talking about little s self, right? Forget your ego needs self that needs affirmation. Your ego needs self that is afraid of judgment. If you're not afraid of judgment anymore, those little voices can go crazy in your head. And they just like, yeah, whatever. I'm not afraid of you. There is no meaning in this for me because I am focused on what is mine to do and I forget the little s self. And all else is added unto me and I become more and more effective in the world. I'm going to check the notes a little bit. Nancy says, I want to be a unified, loving presence, mind, heart, and body in equanimity. That's beautiful, Nancy. Remember last week we talked about balance, the idea of balancing, like the courage to be in the mystery, but stride forth as though you know. You know, sometimes we just have to be in the mystery, but stepping forth with the conviction that God is good and all is well, just like the song that we had earlier. We have to allow ourselves to be in the balance. You know, it's illogical. That's okay. It's illogical. It's irrational, whatever. Step forward boldly in the direction of your dreams, right? You know that quote? Step forward in the direction of your dreams. It's better to, yeah, Becca's reinforcing, it's better to fail at your own dharma than to be good at someone else's. And that requires divine listening, right? And a willingness to step forth, a willingness to ask yourself the hard questions, a willingness to be present to what is, and know that what is has no power over you. For you, your God is bigger than what is. And you've been given gifts that are bigger than what is. So you've been given a life. And you've been given seemingly endless resources, and you've been given gifts. What will you create? What will you do with what you've been given? And critical to creating a masterpiece, a great work, a masterpiece, is to recognize that our doing must be driven by our being something, by our being bigger than ideas of, oh, I want to be this or that. No, I want to be love. I want to be peace. I want to be a generative healing presence in the world. I want to be a loving presence. This is Nancy. I want to be a loving presence, mind, heart, and body, peace, kindness, and love. I want to be that. And then that drives our right doing in the world. You know, you guys, right now, the world really needs our being. The world really needs our being, a certain consciousness. Because the way the world is now is the result of a certain consciousness. That's the way things work. And the same consciousness that brought us to May 17th, 2020, will not take us successfully forward. We must lift and elevate in consciousness. And as Emma Curtis Hopkins told us, that which makes us sick heals us. So we must elevate in consciousness. We must be bigger. We must become willing to look to our Dharma, to look at the lives we've created and ask ourselves, what are the gifts I've been given that I can make a difference in the world? What is the masterpiece that is mine to create? Embody that consciousness of love, of peace, of kindness, and then allow that to drive our doing. The world needs our help. It needs our beingness. And nothing that is happening right now cannot be healed with persistent, loving attention. There is nothing happening in the world that cannot be transformed by persistent, loving attention. And your Dharma can be expressed by the power of persistent, loving attention. As we unify with that which it is ours to be, we are always led down the right path. Everything falls into place. We anchor in the spine of the book, and we might fail. But it is better to fail at what is ours to do than to succeed at someone else's. And so let's turn within. Let me just check, see if there's any more questions or comments. All right. Let's turn within and see if we can't seal this message in consciousness. We want to expand in mind as we take the sacred breath together. And we recognize that although it may appear that we are scattered about, that there is only one mind, and we are unified in our consciousness of this one mind. And with each and every breath, we become more deeply aware of our oneness with one another, with all things, for we are created by the mind and the heart of the infinite one, the living one, and it is beating our hearts in rhythm with the universal presence. And as you breathe, anchor in your inner wisdom. Anchor in the part of you that knows. And begin to know what is one gift you've been given. One gift. It might be something that you do well. It might be an understanding that you have. Perhaps it's a resource. What is at least one gift that you have been given? And as you bring that thing to mind, begin to magnify its power, magnify its presence in your mind, in your heart. As you allow yourself to recognize, how is that gift called to express in the world? If it's something you're good at doing, how are you to do it in service to a greater idea? If it's a consciousness that you bring with you, how is that consciousness to be focused to make the world a better place? If it's a resource, like money or energy, how is that resource to be directed to lift and inspire all? How am I called to be? What is the great work of my life? And you simply allow yourself to know. And you allow yourself to know now, what is it I must do today to focus the energy, to unify with this idea and take divine right action? What is mine to do today that will unify my life around this gift and the expression of this gift in the world? And begin to see yourself actively engaged in that one thing. From that consciousness of beingness, the consciousness of being all that God would have you be. And now give thanks. And give thanks for the inspiration, for the gift, for the wisdom. Give thanks for the life you have been given and the resources that support you in living fully from the God of your being. Give thanks. And release it, let it go. And know the power, the presence, the love of God that makes all things so, makes this thing so. And so it's with a grateful heart that I close this message and call it good. And so it is. Amen.
You will do amazing things with the choice each new day brings, and with every step you take, bless the progress that you make. The reason you live is found in every gift you give. Love your life, love your dreams. You will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing. You will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing. You will do amazing things. All the places you will go and the people you will know. Don't worry when or where or how. You don't have to know that now. You're on the right track. Just close your eyes and make a wish and smile. Amazing, amazing. You will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing. You will do amazing things.
Thank you so much, Reverend Marla and Matt and Becky, for fabulous reminders of the truth of our being, that we have our Dharma and we are called here to do great work at this most important time on our planet. I'm so grateful for the message, and I'm so grateful for this community continuing to inspire and elevate those of us who are here today and those of us who will be joining us in our future. This is the time of our service where we invite your generous abundance and offerings, love offerings and pledges. Today, you can make that offering by going to unityofbellevue.org/give, and you can also text to the number on your screen. Holding your gift in your mind and your heart, please join me in our offering affirmation. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is.
And so we give thanks. We give thanks for the gift and for the giver. We give thanks for the great and mighty good the gift does in this community and in the world through the gift of our own tithe. We are part of the ocean of circulation, and I am so very, very grateful. I consecrate these gifts to that good work and call it good, and so it is. Amen.
Welcome to Unity of Bellevue. My name is Monica McDowell Elvig, and this is my Zoom costume here behind me. I lived in Benawi, the famous Benawi rice terraces, for a couple of months of my life, and they're gorgeous. And so wherever you are coming from today, we recognize your gorgeous, beautiful souls, and we bless you. We are so grateful you are here. We have some announcements for you, and we'd love to hear from you this week. Send us an email, shoot us a message on through our website, give us a phone call and leave us a voicemail. We'd love to hear from you. If you are new to us, reach out to us. We'd love to welcome you into our virtual community that's going on right now. Our book of the month, The Great Work of Your Life, that Reverend Marla referenced so eloquently this morning by Stephen Cope, that is available. You can support our center and buy that book of the month. You can go through our website under events. There's a drop-down menu for book of the month. You can also get the link through our weekly e-newsletter for $20. That includes the book, the tax, the shipping, and I am happy to ship that off to you so that we are all on the same page and aligning as a community. Our prayer chaplains are always welcoming your prayer requests. They love to pray with you and for you. If you have any prayer requests, you can go to our website and the prayer menu. There is a prayer request form you can fill out. You can also email them at prayerchaplains@unityofbellevue.org. If you would like a phone call from one of our prayer chaplains to pray with you and for you, put that in your message and one of them will be happy to call you and pray with you. Every Wednesday, we have our Wednesday Community Connect. We are informally connecting with Reverend Marla and each other to help us stay focused on our spiritual principles and our spiritual practices during this downtime. And we'd love to have you. All of our online links are on our website, on our launch page. There's a little button at the top of our website that will get you there, and that will give you the Zoom link. We'd love to have you. If you're not coming on Wednesday at 1, you're missing out. We're having a great time. So we'd love to see you. Our sacred service continues this year. We are collecting used items for our youth and family ministries. When our building reopens, we'll collect all those. If you're in urgent need, just shoot me a message and we can arrange a time to meet and have you drop those off in the youth wing. This Tuesday night is Unity Life. That is practical spirituality for young adults. We'd love to have you join us, 6:30 online. The launch page on our website will get you there. On Thursday night is A New Earth, our online book study on Eckhart Tolle's book. That is a drop-in workshop, so you are welcome any week. And every week, that is also by love offering, and we are gratefully accepting those love offerings. Again, that launch is on our launch page. If you would like to join, 7:30 on Thursday evenings. To stay current on all of our events, go to our website, unityofbellevue.org, and if you aren't getting our newsletter, at the bottom of every page is the form you can fill out to receive those. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. I'm so grateful for your amazing staff, you guys. These people are really holding it all down. As we prepare to close, I want to say something. Nancy earlier had put a comment in the chat, and I said I would get to it later, and I want to share this comment with you now. Nancy said, "I feel as if I am in an ocean of grief and an ocean of the key of life force for which I am so grateful." And I loved what Nancy said, because yes, we are. There is so much grief happening around our country and around the world right now. So much loss. And yet we are swimming in an ocean of love. We are swimming in an ocean of comfort. We are swimming in an ocean of the very godness of our being. And so as we recognize that many transitions are happening right now, and we're not able to be with them in the way that we are traditionally accustomed to, that we are supported and nurtured and sustained through this time. And I felt like I wanted to save Nancy's comment for now, because I wanted to use it to bring us into the prayer for protection, because this is a prayer that helps us recognize that we are anchored in the consciousness of love. We are anchored in the consciousness and the comfort and the power and the grace of something so much greater than we are. And so as we prepare to close, I invite you to join me in our prayer for protection. With conviction and with the hearts of all of those who are experiencing grief and loss right now, let us speak these words. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Thanks, everybody. Live that lit up life. That is what you are called to be and do. Have a great week. Bye. Oh, stick around for Unity Kids is at 11:40. Don't go. Unity Kids starts at 11:40, so stick around, grown-ups and kids alike. All right, bye-bye.